So we're in the process of reading Rosario Castellanos' cooking lesson. It's sort of a piece about being overeducated, being educated in all the wrong places. For example, she's a housewife because she has to be, even though she's familiar with Swarhana and she wants to sort of study. She's locked into this life of marriage and this standard societal construct, the principles of get married, have kids, wear an apron, and cook. Putting on my glasses now, which I obviously need, to continue the story. When some employees page me in the lobby of the hotel, I remain deaf with that vague uneasiness that is the prelude to recognition. Who could that person be who doesn't answer? It could be something urgent, serious, a matter of life or death. The caller goes away without leaving a clue, a message, or even the possibility of another meeting. Is it anxiety that presses against my heart? No, it's his hand pressing on my shoulder and his lips smiling at me in benevolent mockery, more like a sorcerer than a master. So then I accept. As we head toward the bar, my peeling shoulders feel like it's on fire, that it's true that in my contact or collision with him, I've undergone a profound metamorphosis. I didn't know, and now I know. I didn't feel, and now I do feel. I wasn't, and now I am. It should be left to sit for a while, until it reaches room temperature, until it's steeped in the flavors that I've rubbed into it. I have the feeling I didn't know how to calculate very well, and that I've bought that piece that's too big for the two of us, for me, because I'm lazy, not a carnivore, for him, for aesthetic reasons, because he's watching his waistline. Almost all of it will be left over. Yes, I already know that I shouldn't worry. One of the good fairies that hovers over me is going to come to my rescue and explain how one uses leftovers. It's a mistake, anyhow. You don't start married life in such a sordid way. I'm afraid that you also don't start it with a dish as dull as broiled beef. Thanks, I murmur, while I wipe my lips with a corner of the napkin. Thanks for the transparent cocktail glass, and for the submerged olive. Thanks for letting me out of the cage of one sterile routine, only to lock me into the cage of another. A routine which, according to all purposes and possibilities, must be fruitful. Thanks for giving me the chance to show off a long gown with a train, for helping me walk up the aisle of the church, carried away by the organ music. Thanks for... How long will it take to be done? Well, that shouldn't worry me too much, because it has to be put on the grill the last minute. It takes very little time, according to the cookbook. How long is a little? 15 minutes? 10? 5? Naturally, the text doesn't specify. It presupposes an intuition, which according to my sex I'm supposed to possess. But I don't. A sense I was born without that would allow me to gauge the precise minute the meat is done. And what about you? Don't you have anything to thank me for? You've specified it with a slightly pedantic solemnity and a precision that perhaps were meant to flatter but instead offended. My virginity. When you discovered it, I felt the last dinosaur on a planet where the species was extinct. I longed to justify myself, to explain that if I was intact when I met you, it was not out of virtue or pride or ugliness, but simply out of adherence to a style. I'm not Baroque. The tiny imperfection in the pearl is unbearable to me. The only alternative I have is the neoclassic one, and its rigidity is incompatible with the spontaneity needed for making love. I lack that ease of the person who rows or plays tennis or dances. I don't play any sports. I comply with the ritual, but my move to surrender petrifies into a statue. Are you monitoring my transit to fluidity? Do you expect it? Do you need it? Or is this hierarchicism that sanctifies you, and that you interpret as the passivity natural to my nature enough for you? So if you are voluble, it will ease your mind to think that I won't hinder your adventures. It won't be necessary, thanks to my temperament, for you to fatten me up, tie me down hand and foot with children, gag me on thick honey of resignation. I'll stay the same as I am, calm. When you throw me your body on top of mine, I feel as though a gravestone were covering me, full of inscriptions, strange names, memorable dates. You moan intelligently, and I'd like to whisper my name in your ear to remind you who it is you are possessing. You're possessing me, baby. I'm myself, but who am I? Your wife, of course. And that title suffices to distinguish me from past memories or future projects. I bear an owner's brand, a property tag, and yet you watch me suspiciously. I'm not weaving a web to trap you. I'm not a praying mantis. I appreciate your believing such a hypothesis, but it's false. This meat has a toughness and consistency that is not like beef. It must be mammoth, one of those that have been preserved since prehistoric times in the Siberian ice, that the peasants thaw out and fix for food. In that terribly boring documentary they showed at the embassy, so full of superfluous details, there wasn't the slightest mention of how long it took to make them edible. Years, months, and I only have so much time. Is that a lark, or is it a nightingale? No, our schedules won't be ruled by such winged creatures as those that announce the coming of dawn to Romeo and Juliet, but by a nosy and unerring alarm clock. And you will not descend today by the stairway of my tresses, but rather on the steps of detailed complaints. You've lost a button off your jacket, the toast is burned, the coffee is cold. I'll ruminate my resentment in silence. All the responsibilities and duties of a servant are assigned to me for everything. I'm supposed to keep the house impeccable, the clothes ready, meal times exact, but I'm not paid any salary. I don't get one day off a week. I can't change masters. On the other hand, I'm supposed to contribute to the support of the household, and I'm expected to efficiently carry out a job where the boss is demanding, my colleagues conspire, and my subordinates hate me. In my free time, I transform myself into a society matron who gives luncheons and dinners for her husband's friends, attends meetings, subscribes to the opera season, watches her weight, renews her wardrobe, cares for her skin, keeps herself attractive, keeps up on all the gossip, stays up late, gets up early, runs the monthly risk of maternity, believes the evening executive meetings, the business trips and the arrival of unexpected clients, who suffers from olfactory hallucinations when she catches a whiff of French perfume, different from the one she uses, and on her husband's shirts and handkerchiefs, and on lonely nights refuses to think why or what so much fuss is all about, and fixes herself a stiff drink and reads a detective story with the fragile mood of a convalescence. Continued in part 3.